It's Real GM Radio. I'm Wes Goldberg. We're kicking off the week with a Monday monologue. I'm going to tell you why the White Lotus season finale might be the reason why Draymond Green wins Defensive Player of the Year. Let's jump in. All right, what's up, Real GM Radio? I want to kick off the week with a Monday monologue. I want to start by talking about Defensive Player of the Year. I think this is the most fascinating race out of all of the season awards because this thing pretty much became wide open as soon as Victor Wembanyama got hurt. He's not going to meet the 65 game criteria, and so now it just feels like we're in a point where as long as Wemby qualifies, he's just going to win Defensive Player of the Year, and that's totally fine. He probably deserves it. You can even argue that he deserved it after his rookie year, but didn't get it. Rudy Gobert ended up getting it last season, but as long as he plays those 65 games, as long as he's healthy, he's probably going to win these for the next 4, 5, 6. I mean, maybe even more. Who knows? But he goes down with the injury. This thing ends up being pretty wide open, and I think the voters are going to have a tough time and are having a tough time trying to figure out who they're going to vote for this award because everybody just assumed that they were going to vote for Wembanyama, and maybe for half the season people aren't even thinking about this award or watching these games closely with Defensive Player of the Year in mind. So you look at the odds now. Draymond Green, far and away the best odds to win DPOY. You've got Evan Mobley, Lou Dort, Dyson Daniels. They're all near the top. But here's the guy that's missing. No Thompson. And I find that really curious. So he's been great all year for the Rockets. I want to talk about last night's game between the Rockets and the Warriors. Rockets beating Golden State in that game. And Thompson was unreal in that game. He locked up Steph Curry. Steph, according to the tracking data, which isn't always correct, but gives you a pretty good sense of what happened there, Steph was 0 for 3 against Thompson. And it's not even the 0 for that's super impressive. It's the fact that he got only 3 shot attempts up against Thompson in that game. And yeah, that checks out. You watch that game, and Steph overall couldn't get anything going. Couldn't get anything going the entire night. He basically was forced out of the offense. He took just 10 shots, made only 1, and the only one that he made was this half-court heave right before the buzzer going into halftime. So he didn't, you could argue, didn't even make a shot within the normal context of the basketball game. It's absolutely wild. So you watch that game, and Thompson's going to get a lot of credit and has gotten a lot of credit for shutting down Steph Curry. And he deserves, I would say, probably 80% of the credit. But, Dylan Brooks was on him a lot. Fred VanVleet took his turns on him a lot too. And Houston's defense overall should get a ton of credit for forcing not only Steph Curry out of the offense, who finished for just 3 points, but also Jimmy Butler basically out of the offense. He just took 7 field goal attempts and only took 4 free throw attempts in that game. So he wasn't involved either. And they were able to throw Tari Eason at him, Jabari Smith Jr. at him. They threw a bunch of guys at him too. So to go back to the Thompson part of this, when you watched him, he was doing stuff against Steph that just nobody else can do. Like everybody's, oh, well, he was just being physical with him. He was face guarding him the entire game. Okay, cool. That's super hard to do. Steph played 33 minutes in that game. He never got, there was maybe a couple of occasions where he was able to get a little bit of separation there, but really nothing throughout that entire game. Do you understand the level of just athleticism and conditioning it takes? That's Steph's whole thing. It's obviously with the 3-point shooting and stuff, but having covered Steph up close for a few years there, his conditioning is maybe the least talked about part of his game when we're talking about sort of the elite traits that he has that might be as responsible as anything else for the success that this guy has had. He is always moving. He's always coming off across screens. He's really strong despite his size, so he's able to kind of get through those screens and kind of wedge his way into different places. But it's his conditioning more than anything that, you could face guard him for a quarter, maybe 2 quarters. But by the 4th quarter, he's going to wear you out. Thompson was not worn out. He is a top 1% in the league athlete. He's unreal. And he's even making defensive plays. There was a play where the Warriors got Thompson switched off of Steph. Is on somebody else. Steph Curry is driving to the basket, and Thompson still gets an arm in there. This is like 2 minutes left in the game. Thompson still gets an arm in there and pokes the ball free and ends up going off of Steph Curry's foot and out of bounds, and that's a turnover. And basically, the Warriors just emptied their bench after that. I mean, it's crazy what this guy is doing. He is unbelievable. And this is not obviously the only thing that he's done. You look at, okay, Steph Curry on Sunday night. He guarded Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Houston's win over OKC on Friday night, right? A week ago, he held Luka Doncic to 1 for 6 shooting against the Lakers. This guy is doing it. He's always getting the toughest assignment on the Rockets defense. For a Rockets defense that ranks 4th in defensive rating right now, has basically been top 5 all season, and is a big reason why they are where they are in the Western Conference standings. This is a team that also was out of the playoffs last year, and they are now 2nd in the Western Conference, and they're going to be 2nd in the Western Conference standings when this is all said and done. And the biggest change is Amen Thompson. Obviously, Amen was on the team last year as a rookie, but his development has been the biggest swing factor from a team that has basically done nothing in the offseason and at the trade deadline, decided to just stand pat, not do anything. And if you were to try to find one thing that has changed the most with the Houston Rockets from last year to this year, from last year's team that was out of the playoffs to this year's team that's going to be 2nd in the Western Conference, it's the development and the emergence of Amen Thompson. Okay? And so you hear Ime Udoka at the end of the game last night. He's asked about Defensive Player of the Year and all the campaigning that Draymond Green is doing. And he goes, he says that Amen Thompson is much better than Draymond. And there's like this long pause, and then he kind of jokes and he says, yeah, I'm just kidding. I love Draymond, blah, blah, blah. But that is sort of the most campaigning that's been done for Amen Thompson in terms of Defensive Player of the Year. Heck, you could argue his twin brother, Asar Thompson, has done more campaigning, saying that he's the best wing defender out here. And by the way, he's really good too. And he could end up being the best wing defender in the NBA. But right now, Amen Thompson has been better than his twin, and he's been better than a lot of different players. And again, he is not even in the consideration when you look at some of these sports books for winning Defensive Player of the Year. And I don't think that the voters are going to give it to him or even really consider him. This is not even necessarily an argument to say that he should be the Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think that I would vote for him necessarily as my number 1 on my ballot, but he would be on my ballot. He would have to be. You look at the Draymond Green stuff. Number 1 for Defensive Player of the Year odds. Amen Thompson's tied with Draymond Green for defensive EPM, according to Dunks and Threes. He's right there with the top guys in the league. It's basically Wembanyama and Caruso at the top. Those guys are not even eligible, I don't think. Draymond Green, then Amen Thompson, Rudy Gobert, Chris Dunn, Asar Thompson, Isaiah Hartenstein, Jonathan Isaac, Ivica Zubac, Bam Adebayo. I mean, these are all world defenders, and Amen Thompson, by these metrics and several others, is right there at the top of them, at the top of this list with those other guys. So he's not campaigning like Draymond. He's not getting the same attention, man. If Amen had a podcast, maybe we're talking about him more, but he doesn't. And Draymond Green is the one who has this podcast and is actively campaigning. But I'm telling you, this Amen Thompson stuff is a huge deal. I haven't seen a perimeter defender burst onto the scene this early in his career since Kawhi Leonard in his 2nd or 3rd season in San Antonio. So it's been 11 or 12 years since we've had a perimeter defender do this kind of thing this earlier in their career and just burst onto the scene and make a difference for a team that's winning a lot of regular season games. He is that good. And I'm not just talking about the defensive stops. I'm not talking about just taking on the best assignment and holding them to below their averages. He's doing that. He's also doing more than that. He makes these game-changing defensive plays that can just swing a game. And he's doing it against the best players in the league. It's Kawhi-esque. You look at his block rate and steal rates, it's Kawhi-esque, man. And Kawhi, we know what he ended up being. At his best, he was the best. He was obviously Defensive Player of the Year, was always in consideration when he was up there, and just changed games with his defensive plays. And you look at, there's that famous video of LeBron in the finals, and he's at the free throw line, and he turns around, and Kawhi Leonard is checking in, and he just starts cursing under his breath. And he's like, oh man, I got to deal with this guy again. You don't think Steph Curry was thinking the same thing, that every time he would check back into the game, Ime Udoka would look at this bench and call back, come on, Amen Thompson to go to the scorer's table, and Steph Curry is standing there at the scorer's table like, really? You're going to check this guy back into the game? I can't get a break. That's what Amen Thompson is doing to guys. He's not going to give you a break. He can change a game just with his defense. But he's not even in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year according to these sports books. So I think part of it is that nobody's really watching Houston. And then you look at why Draymond is number one. I mean, look, he's deserving to be on ballots. I don't really want to take anything away from Draymond. This is not an anti-Draymond thing. But his biggest moments have come in big matchups on national TV, right? You think about what he did to Giannis a couple weeks ago, which was just, again, classic vintage Draymond Green stuff. Like when he's tapped in to that version of him, nobody's better than Draymond. I want to make that very clear. When Draymond's tapped in like that, nobody's better than him, even still. What he did against Giannis a couple weeks ago was a ridiculous masterclass. That was all-time stuff. He had that big stop late against the Lakers, big stops late against the Lakers last week. So he's having these big moments in big games and crucial moments on national TV, and he's getting a lot of love for that. But you also look at the body of work, man, and I'm telling you, as somebody who's watched the Warriors all season long, you can't sit here, even if you're a Warriors fan, and tell me that it's been that version of Draymond Green all season long. There's been but especially before the Jimmy Butler trade, there was a long periods of season where Draymond wasn't tapping in that way, and he's going to finish top 5 and should, and he might even win this thing. And it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Like the fact that Draymond only has one Defensive Player of the Year on his resume is sort of a problem. He should have more. He's going to go down as one of the greatest defenders of his generation, if not the greatest, and one of the greatest defenders of all time. No question about it. But when I think about players who have done it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and you go complete body of work, complete resume, I'm not going to vote Draymond. To me, it's pretty much down to Evan Mobley and Lou Dort, I think. And I think I might be leaning Dort, even though I don't want to. I still want to kind of look at it a little bit more. But I'm leaning towards Dort, if I'm being completely honest. But then watching that game Sunday night and seeing what Amen Thompson did against Steph, I'm like, look, he's making another late push. This is a moment that matters. And that was Amen's chance to have that big moment. His Draymond Green versus Giannis moment, Draymond Green versus the Lakers moment. That was Amen's chance to have that big moment. But I'm worried too many people are watching the White Lotus season finale instead, and so he's not going to get credit for it. Look, that's a joke, but I'm trying to make a point that Defensive Player of the Year is more reliant on big games, on national stages, and highlight reels than any other award. And the Defensive Player of the Year odds this season prove my point.